Good evening again, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of Wrestle Talk Show. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, again here to bring you the latest and greatest professional wrestling news, bits, rumors, anything and everything pro wrestling, ins and outs, what you don't get to hear, what you do get to hear, what you don't get to see, what you do get to see, analyzing anything and everything pro wrestling. Again, we want to, as we have for the last 2 days, we want to apologize for the delay in this video. We did have news to report that we're going to report on the 1st, but in a way, I'm actually, when I was kind of going over how I was going to break down Extreme Rules for you, I picked up some more news stories, and the more I started adding to the list, I guess I won't say that it will apply for every pay-per-view, but it actually worked out pretty well because the delay gave me more information so I can report it all at once, thus making it a longer show rather than different shows, which we'll still do and we always do, but I would like to every now and again do more 2-hour special shows like I planned. The last show was an hour. The co-host thing I am working on. Unfortunately, the co-host that I had in mind that had, or I believe I mentioned this in the last episode, had his phone number changed, and I sent him an email. I just haven't heard anything back. We normally, we're childhood friends, and he's the one that got me into wrestling and inspired me to be a promoter. And he has insight on it because he analyzes it like I do. He just doesn't produce his own show. I just thought it would be something to do, and I'm always looking for a new project. Let's get what we usually get out of the way, well, a little bit out of the way, not all of it, because everybody needs their time to shine. We'd like to thank our audience that allows us to bring you this product. Without you, each and every one of you, this comes from YouTube and everywhere else that you guys see Wrestle Talk Show. We want to thank you for your viewership. We appreciate it. You make it worthwhile. I'm glad you guys liked the Snooki video. I was a little hesitant, to be honest with you, on releasing it because, as I mentioned in the notes, I was slightly inebriated because I couldn't find this is how pathetic it was. I couldn't find interest in picking on it, that it made me mad sober, and it still made me mad having a couple drinks, but at least I thought, at least in my own mind, everything I was touching on, I was hitting gold. But that's what I needed to get through that. That's how unstimulating the Jersey Shore and Snooki and any past, future, and present cast members. It's all overrated. We all know that life isn't like that. We also want to encourage you to visit WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. That's our main website. There you can interact on the forums, send us an email, question, comment, concern, or for the logo contest, cwecompany@gmail.com. That's a logo contest that we're looking for a new logo for the show, Wrestle Talk Show, and submissions will be accepted up until May 14th at midnight, and a winner and prize will be announced May 15th by 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, it's one of the simpler ones. Kind of remind, every time when I was thinking about it, I was kind of thinking about, you remember how you used to have to send in like 60 proofs of purchase from your cereal box to get, all 7 figurines of the DuckTales, or I don't know if you go back that far, but, or anything like that, and how in the fine print there was always what you could and couldn't do, and it was a good 2 paragraphs on what you couldn't do for a simple set of toys that you'll eventually outgrow and throw away, and the company itself discontinues itself after a while anyway. So it just seemed like a lot of, being older and looking back on it, seemed like a lot of effort for a little reward, so I wanted to make it as simple as possible. And the only two stipulations are you can put my name in it if you want. I don't want to be egotistical. If you want, the show's called Wrestle Talk Show. The two stipulations are either the whole show name, the W, the T, and the S, preferably capitalized like I do to kind of put it out there, or just use the initials WTS, and then go from there. Those are the only two stipulations. You can or can't or don't have to use my name. I've gotten some submissions from a couple of yous, and one of them had my name in it. And also, we're looking for columnists. I wanted to update you on that. Viewer Justin, I proposed to him. He asked what he could do in interest to the columnist announcement, and I proposed to him the idea of doing regular point of view, like pay-per-view blogs, or a video that we can, when we do the editing, we can tack into our video, so you get our content, and then like a segue. Stay tuned for the just an example, Extreme Rules pay-per-view review. This way you're not just getting my opinion, because I do want it to be fans of wrestling doing the wrestling show and looking at it from every angle, and we do try to do that. But enough about but there's that, and feel free to visit the site and click on the support the show. You can, via PayPal, donate as little or as much as you want. We understand economic hardship, as everyone I know and don't know is going through it, despite what your government tells you. But the next best thing to that, and sometimes, as I've noticed with just the creation of this show, word of mouth, it works just as well as cash, because I'm starting to literally get recognized or get emails because they saw the show. And refer a friend. Remember, visit our channel, 100 plus videos, youtube.com/CWE Company. You can comment at the end of every video, directly under the video. Submit your comment. I get it immediately. I'm usually on, picking up news for the next show, or working on the next run sheet, or doing a different project. But remember to like it. It increases our ratings with YouTube, which increases our overall stats with YouTube. And just, help out any way you can. It doesn't always have to be financial, but financial, don't get me wrong, would help. I'd like to make this a real production and bring you a real show, as the PW Torch has done. Since 1987, they've been bringing wrestling, and Wade Keller and James Codwell are full-time. They define themselves as full-time wrestling reporters. I would love to be able to do that. I imagine in the beginning it gets expensive to attend every pay-per-view and go to every little thing to give complete coverage like they do. But I do want to not necessarily go to that extent, but make it a production that is like a round table, which is also something I suggested to Justin. Not like where I brought up in the last video, but not a round table per se, as it's already used, but where we would kind of insert the 2+ hour videos, because I noticed when I did them regularly over that week I was on vacation, you guys kind of got tired of it. But if it was once every 4 weeks or so, or bi-weekly, it could be bonus material, it could be members only material, it could be, something different, and you wouldn't mind the length because it's only X amount of times a month, X amount of times a year. But there's all that and more, but we'll address that further as the show progresses. But let's move into what you really came here for, what we've been promising you the last 2 days. Your wrestling news, your wrestling ratings. And your ratings for the week in pro wrestling are as follows. The May 2nd, 2011 edition of Monday Night Raw, which was showcased by being The Rock's birthday, scored a 3.45, featuring Fallout from Extreme Rules, the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, The Rock's birthday, and John Cena versus The Miz for the WWE title. The show this Monday averaged 5.22 million viewers, and it's being headlined as Raw is Rock. And it's also, there's a lot of assumption going around, and I'll take a minute to discuss it. I kind of believe it. It makes sense because Vince is in a spot right now. The last couple of videos over the last couple of months, I've been mentioning little things that individually don't really hurt, but collectively he is hurting. Whether he gets better ratings than TNA or not, he's just hurting on a different level. They weren't sure they were going to reach the 1 million buy rate threshold on WrestleMania. That's how piss poor WrestleMania was. And when I discuss the comp, well, I'll kind of leak it a little bit. During the annual shareholders conference before this Friday, I believe this Friday's first quarter earnings conference, they hold a get together the week before every year for the shareholders to kind of network and mingle and talk to Vince on a casual business casual before they have to sit in on a all business, usually no nonsense, sometimes dull conference call from Vince McMahon. And yes, Vince McMahon will be hosting it again, but more or less, I'll give you a tease for it. One of the key questions asked, and what was being asked ever since, leading up to WrestleMania and all the way till now, is what was Rock's compensation or what is Rock's agreement, more or less. And Vince replied, it was Q&A with Vince at the annual shareholders conference. And he more or less said they worked on a handshake agreement, and Rock got paid for however much more hype he brought to the show. And considering they reached and or surpassed the 1 million threshold, they gave the claim is The Rock. We all seen that The Rock was the prominent figure on this Monday's Raw, and it was all about Rock, and it's being teased, well, save WrestleMania and you get to have an entire 2-hour Raw dedicated to you. And it was meant as a joke, but it does make sense. It's kind of small. I don't know why it's even being made as a joke. Vince, The Rock's star power saved Vince's center stage event, his, the business, and we'll get more into the conference call and whatnot, including a better perspective of why the word wrestling was dropped, and much more. Why there is no more blood and Vince's stance on that. PG. Triple H talks about PG. You'll have fun with it. WWE Tough Enough on that same night, May 2nd, scored a 1.70 rating and averaged 2.44 million viewers. Week 5 of the show is virtually even with last week's pre-draft episode that scored a 1.73 rating and averaged 2.45 million viewers. Through 5 episodes, Tough Enough Through 5 episodes, Tough Enough has averaged a 1.86 rating and 2.64 million viewers. So, like we've been saying for weeks, when they brought it back, I posed a question when we got the word that it was coming back, that as long as they did it right and it wasn't just another reality show, everything would be fine. But if it was just going to be hijinks and goofy stuff, and it wasn't the real behind what it takes to be a wrestler, then it would just become another reality show that you could take it or leave it. And when you're looking for ratings and copyright and distribution and, you know, all those kind of deals, you want it to be good. You don't want it to end up like Superstars. Moving into your wrestling news and rumors, I recently listened to, I know I'm behind the times on this, but we will address it anyway. On April 18th, 2011, Al Snow was a call-in guest host on ESPN Radio's Pro Wrestling Report, where the host recalls Snow's, what his role is in TNA now as a commissioner and enforcer, and he was an enforcer during an 8-man tag match, and the host just wanted to know how you choreograph and how you he didn't say choreograph obviously, but how you manage 8 different people. And Snow replied in summary, it's hard because you have to know each wrestler's moveset well so that nothing that occurs comes as a surprise to the workers. The spots have to be placed right for the right pop at the right time. The goal is to let the right wrestlers shine for a special point. A move is planned to happen at a certain point for the crowd attention, or the pop as it's better known, at a given point. These are just some things you have to think about and or factor in when governing the match. Plus, it's just as important to hype a loss if the loss or issue creates a feud with a decent run. But even more, if it's the foundation to a growing story that will unfold at a key pay-per-view and or event. WWE Diva has her final match at Extreme Rules. Give me 1 second, guys. And that was McCool. McCool wound up having her last match with WWE at Extreme Rules. I didn't think it would come up before the pay-per-view. I forgot about it and had to scroll down to the pay-per-view. She also cited, even though it was a match, basically we'll explain it in the conference call or in the pay-per-view hype, but it was a match where the loser had to leave the WWE, and McCool basically reported that she had a consistent injury that was bothering her, so she wanted a way out. So that was her way out. Alright, we got through the Al Snow thing. The Rock ends his long-term relationship with his agent. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, has made big news in Hollywood after severing ties with his longtime agent Darren Stat and signing with a new talent agency. Fresh off Fast 5 breaking box office records over the weekend with $86 million in receipts, Johnson has, quote, called it quits with Scott and signed with WME William Morris Endeavor, end quote, reports Deadline.com. Rock was previously with CAA, Creative Artist Agency. Creative Artist Agency. Deadline adds that Rock had told Universal Pictures he wants to appear in the 6th installment of Fast and the Furious franchise. At the end of the report, Deadline noted Rock also has renewed his relationship with WWE this year. And you know, and as we said, that's kind of what got WrestleMania what it got it. Triple H speaks out on name changes, on the name change at anti-bullying rally in Washington, D.C. And he, 1 second, guys. He speaks out at an like I said, anti-bullying rally in Washington, D.C. Quote, see, here's the thing. I think a lot of people misunderstand what we're saying when we say we're just going to be WWE now and not quote, World Wrestling Entertainment. I think people think we're walking away from our core product. That's not it at all, Hunter told Kevin Eck of the Baltimore Sun at the event. Quote, we just do so many things very well. That's another episode. Definitely in itself. Give me 1 second, guys. Hey, my bad, guys. I didn't know you were. I'm sorry. When you said a half hour, 45 minutes, I thought I had time. Yeah, I'll leave that change on the table for you. I'm in the middle of a recording. I'll be right out. Or actually, just come into the back real quiet like. Sorry about that, guys. Again, it's not dinner. This time, the same group of people. They tell you 30, 45 minutes. And they're here in 20 minutes. Or less than 10. So, but I owed him change. And I owed him from when my paycheck was held up. That's another thing with the state of Pennsylvania. I recently lost my job and collecting unemployment, and they say everything's processed, and then I'm thinking I'm getting a 1 week check, and then they inform me 2 weeks ago, oh, the company has to make up their mind now and decide whether or not they want to pay it. So you have to wait after they more or less sent me letters of approval and how much I'd be making. Now, as of today, I was supposed to get 3 weeks worth because you apply on a bi-weekly basis. You apply on a Sunday and it's posted on a Wednesday and it's not there, but I have till 8 there's that money I have till 8 p.m. to post, so we'll see what's going on with that. But they take their time. They take their time when it comes to owing you money, but if you owe them, it's a different story. But let me get back into the story. It was just a real quick, he was in the area thing. Because he's one of them younger, he's saving for an apartment and gas is expensive and he's got a gas guzzling truck and he's going through a lot. So whenever I can help him, I try and help him. He's actually storing literally, he was told by his longtime friend, he had 20 minutes to move out and had to throw everything in random boxes along with his girlfriend's stuff, and most of their belongings are sitting here until they find a place because they're going motel to motel, which in this area isn't real cost effective, but hopefully they'll get something going. I know they're looking for a room to rent or an apartment, different stuff like that. So, and I put in a word with my landlord. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we can help somebody out. And yeah, that's another thing. If you can help somebody, do it. It doesn't take any kind of real energy, and it makes you feel good. But getting back into the story, that's not it at all. Hunter, they're not walking away from their core product, even though they took wrestling out of WWE, and more or less said when they announced the brand expansion that we reported on about 2 weeks ago, that they want to buy entertainment companies and various other things. They more or less want their hand in every, like I said in one video, not to the T. Sorry, this phone hasn't stopped ringing since they started calling unemployment. They're not walking away from their core product, but they more or less go out and announce that we're a wrestling company, but we want to, like I mentioned in the last video, we want everyone to love us first and foremost. We want to be friends with everyone in the entertainment business. So we're going to stay PG. We're going to get a little edgy, but we don't want to piss off the toy company and the retailer that are our family-friendly sponsors by providing gritty wrestling action and story, but we also want to, like I said before, I won't echo it, it's going to become WWE Presents, a variety show. And it's going to be on MTV too, and nobody's going to watch it. He continues to say, after saying they're not walking away from the core product, we just do so many things very well. Like I said, that's debatable in another story. We're a live event production company that does live events probably better than anyone else on the globe. We do live event touring probably better than anyone else in the world. We do merchandising and marketing as well, if not better than anyone else in the world. Wow, I skimmed through this, but it was going to get reported either way. But wow, is he kind of like, Vince must have been standing right behind him, patting him on the back, or was he wearing the Michael Cole earpiece? Was Vince telling him what to say so he could watch him from the back? This is kind of kissing Vince WWE ass, but like I said in other videos, I've always defended Triple H because Triple H came in when he had money. He was a JBL before there was JBL. He had millions and got in it for the love of wrestling. So, but like I said in the last video, I just want to see, it's fine if Vince wants to make sure a couple things don't, that evolution happens, no pun intended, and change occurs, but I really hope Triple H doesn't, like I referenced before, take an autopilot stance and just do what Vince has been do it the way Vince has been training him to do for the last year. I really hope there's some kind of differential between the two, but we'll see what happens there. After boasting about how WWE is just the best thing on earth, there are abilities for us to take those core competencies and offer them to the outside world in addition to what we do. So more or less saying again, you want your hand in everything because you've tried everything from a production standpoint, from a live event standpoint, from marketing and production, just different things like that. TNA finds new home for Impact in Australia finally, as we reported a couple weeks ago. Impact was just Fox 8, I believe, just decided not to renew it, and it didn't have a home for a while, but they have found it for the Australian fans of TNA. I didn't know, that many that it was, It's actually kind of funny, too. If you noticed, I don't know if you paid this much attention to it, but it wasn't really a big, if you looked at it, it wasn't really a big deal like they were posting, not that I've seen at least, that they were posting a rush to get it back or a daily bid to networks to carry it. They just waited till somebody wanted to carry it. And that would be a network called Fuel TV. And it will launch on June 11th, Saturday, June 11th. TNA officially announced yesterday. After losing Impact's time slot on Fox 8 earlier this year, TNA agreed to a distribution deal with Fuel to air Impact on Saturday nights at 8:30. The episodes will be current, with each week's Impact episode airing less than 48 hours after the original airing on Spike TV in the U.S. TNA already had a working relationship with Fuel, which currently airs TNA's Epics show. Now Impact and Epics will air on Fuel TV during the week. You guys know I really don't care. I report it for you guys, but I didn't even know. I heard of Explosion, and that was just from Dishpan and Smart Wrestling Fan being from Australia, but I didn't know they had, two shows. I thought that when they lost Reaction, they were working on producing another company. But again, I'm never ashamed to admit that I might be behind in some things. And I do my research when I am, and I catch it up, and that's why you get so much material. Kurt Angle, training for the 2012 Olympics, and that official training will begin in August. He was quoted as saying he tried back in 2004 while still with the WWE, but it didn't materialize. Not to be mean, but if he survives that long, the way he, wants the wow effect all the time, he kind of puts himself in unnecessary danger. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. And for those of you that, this is first, I'm a line ahead. Sorry, guys. Hulk Hogan loses big court case related to his son Nick's 2007 car injury. A judge in Pinellas County, Florida, has dismissed Hulk Hogan's lawsuit, claiming his insurance company failed to provide adequate coverage for his family prior to Nick Hogan's infamous car crash in August 2007 that nearly killed John Garazino. Hogan, who filed the suit against Wells Fargo Southwest in April 2010 after his multi-million-dollar estate was exposed in a lawsuit filed by the Grazino family. Sorry to that family if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. The family's lawsuit claimed Wells Fargo should have offered more protection for his assets as his children grew older and became more of a risk. She's not wrong. John Cena remarks on the Bin Laden death after the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. After the event went off the air, the new WWE Champion John Cena took the mic and announced that during the duration of the pay-per-view, U.S. troops, quote, captured and compromised Osama bin Laden, which drew a massive crowd response. Cena gave a speech about American pride while the fans chanted USA. Cena closed the event by posing with the fans before... One second, guys. Hello. Yeah. What's up? Oh, you can't get in? Oh, I didn't know you left. I don't know. I heard you out in the living room, and then I just figured you guys were being quiet. Sorry. Hold on one second. Gotta let my roomie in. Sorry, guys. I don't know. He must have thought he did me a favor because I didn't know you left. I was in there recording. Do me a favor. I have a friend coming over to pick up one of the 2 dimes that I bought because she couldn't find me. I'm going to bring it out here. That way they don't see a drug deal on YouTube. Yeah, I thought you guys were still out here shooting the shit. See that? Another interruption, but at least this time it wasn't dinner. But, yeah, I mean, and what basically happened was he announced that bin Laden died, and the actual place that posted it had the video up. And get this, because WWE has ownership over John Cena, the name, the likeness, and all that happy horse shit, they pulled it because they're not making any money off of it. John Cena telling the world's largest terrorist is dead, and WWE won't air it because they can't, unless they can get a cut from it. Like, it was a national tragedy. It's like when the Phillies won the World Series. You just announce it. It makes you feel better. Like, it's not all about money. But, brief intermission. Thank you. And this is why I put a new sign on the door that said office, private office, and video production. Please knock before entering. But instead, they just call or text until I get tired of it and have to answer them. But yeah, John Cena was just telling the world that the world's largest terrorist was dead, and the video's been pulled because of the copyrights WWE has to the show that it was on, to John Cena, to any rebroadcasting of the show in any capacity. Basically, they used a technicality to pull it. Because it was an excerpt from Raw, because it was, you'd think that they legitimized it by saying, they basically legitimized it by saying it wasn't that what he said, or because it was John Cena, it was because it was a portion of our live event you couldn't even really say pay-per-view because he announced it shortly after winning the title. So all that was left was the live crowd. It was something for the live crowd. So, and I said this about the attacks themselves, because apparently my friend JJ, the same friend that told me John Cena was on SmackDown, and I had to correct him very quickly, said that they showed a video package of September 11th, and he found it offensive because who wants to be reminded? My argument on that is, and just in general, is as horrific as it was, as horrible an event and lives were lost and all that stuff, it's still a part of American history, and no matter how much we dislike what we're seeing, it's part of our history. Actually, a segue into a news bit. One of the top things Googled over the last couple of days was, who's Osama bin Laden? If the generation that was like 7 or 8 doesn't know who our world's US of A's biggest, most wanted man was and why, it says a little something about the education in this. I don't know how you would, be nice about that, but it's part of our history. So, I mean, I'm not saying go out there and brag about it, but to recap on it, I don't think you have a choice. JJ went on to say, show footage right before the planes hit. And I more or less said that you're splitting hairs, because then it's like cutting out, when you cut out right there where you see the plane headed for the building, the natural assumption's going to be what actually happened. Well, I guess that plane went into the building. But I'm not saying it's good history. I'm not saying it's something that, people should be writing book report, well, maybe how they feel and, whatever. But it's a part of United States history, and it's always going to be there, even though it's not the best publicity in the world. But I just think it's a little retarded that WWE couldn't let this one go when John Cena was just advertising, hey, the terrorist that we've been looking for years, he's no longer with us now. We did what we needed to do. Developmental wrestling fans, get ready for Tough Enough 2.0. On Monday night, the USA Network issued a press release outlining their summer series programming. Included was a brief suggestion. Come in.
See you right now. Go right here.
Oh, yeah. Why? What happened? Did he have his own?
Yeah, I brought his from my house. Because I stole
I think I had forgotten that he said something about that. All right, I'll be right out. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
USA Network issued a press release, and it suggested Tough Enough will be a part of the summer programming lineup. The current season of Tough Enough is scheduled to end on June 6th after a 10-episode run. USA's note from the press release reads, quote, USA will dominate Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights this summer, bringing viewers its biggest summer ever with powerful weeknight blocks of 9 original series, including In Plain Sight, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, White Collar, Covert Affairs, Burn Notice, really good one. Royal Pains, Tough Enough, which suggests that it's going to be renewed because of its success, and the premiere of 2 new original series, Suits and called Suits, and another one called Necessary Roughness. As of the 3rd, like I just said, the top Googled item, one of the top Googled items was who is Osama bin Laden, and this brings me to full circle almost to my point of we want to be everybody's buddy, but our own people are asking the internet community from other places. They live here, and they need to know about their own history from someone else in another location on the internet. My point is, what does it say? But that's there. Do you see an issue? That's all I'm saying is there an issue there? It was announced during TNA Impact News, by the way. It was announced during the Impact taping on... Oh, I want to make sure I'm not too far behind. It was announced during this week's Impact taping on Tuesday that there has been a name change to, quote, Impact Wrestling is what they're calling themselves. They've gone from total nonstop action. Wrestling was never an official part of it, but, you know. They went from total nonstop action to Impact Wrestling. If the show had an impact on the ratings or wrestling fans at all, literally, that might be a great name. But now they've changed their name. That's cool. Now I think you need to... Most people would have done this before the name change, mind you. But now you need to implement the product results and the view of the product to kind of relate to the name. When it's Ric Flair and friends come out and talk, it's not making any impact, except the level of boredom goes from 0 to 60 faster than your newest car. But that's just one man's opinion, and I'm saying that in regards to me, but a lot of people concur. And this is according to ProWrestling.net, one of their fans, Jason, ProWrestling.net, who's in our advertisements lately, or our plugs. One of his site members, 2 of his site members, submitted the news for him. And .net took the liberty of confirming that the name change is for the Impact television show. Oh, okay, something new. The name change is for the show, the television show itself, and not the company. Still, same thing applies. You got to actually bring back the Impact and get rid of the needlessness and the very little matches, but a lot of talking like this. I mean, this past week, just so I'm not going all off on TNA because I have plenty of time to come back to them, but Raw itself, for the first 30 minutes to be just talking, which, I don't know, is it okay to assume that that's what it was going to be because it was advertised a week to 2 weeks before that it would be Rock's birthday, and fallout from the pay-per-view, you get that by default because that's how the wrestling fan does it. You watch the pay-per-view and then you look for the responses. But I do think that I hope the name change, I hope they stick with what they released and the name change isn't the only thing on the table for changing or correction or whatever adjective you want to use to fix something that used to do very well. WWE star Chris Jericho is filling in for Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx on the quote 6 Cents radio show tonight. That was as of, I want to make sure that was current. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, this was as of the last 24 hours between last night and tonight. Juggalo Championship Wrestling returns to online pay-per-view tonight with a show headlined by Sabu and Too Tough Tony versus Rhino and Rob Conway, plus the Weed Man versus Colt Cabana is also advertised for the show. The JCW pay-per-views cost only $5, and you can check them out at psychopathiclive.com. Julie Hart, the ex-wife of WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart, has launched a website at juliehart.org. Check that out if you're interested. WWE referee Scott Armstrong, also known as Joseph James, is 52 today. He was born on May 4th, 1959. Former WWE wrestler Bushwhacker Luke is scheduled to appear at the May 7th Independent Wrestling Show. Dr. Tom Prickard will appear on the promotion's May 21st event. Both shows are being held in Woodland Park, New Jersey at the IWF Center. For more information, visit campiwf.com. And the AWA show will air on ESPN Classic tonight at 11 p.m. Central Time. However, there are no matches listed for the show tonight, so that's a show I would actually that I might actually look up and catch, because if they're not advertising it, you're seeing it for the first time. There's no build, so you get to see basically, all right, I've tuned in. Show me what you got. Just my thought on that. I think it's a way to promote wrestling. It's not always the best way, but if done right, it works. Sometimes, as you know, the norm is usually advertising what your headlining matches are going to be. But like I've said in other videos, what happened to the element of surprise or build-up? So to see AWA doing something like that is good, you know? The Sci-Fi Network issued a press release on Wednesday to announce that WWE star Edge will join the cast of a show they have called Haven in a guest starring role. He will be playing the role of Dwight Hendrickson, who is described as a shrewd, longtime Haven resident. So other ventures for Edge now that he's out of wrestling, and like I said during our coverage of the retirement, do the Hulk Hogan thing. Get your endorsements. Get things now where you can make money by pushing things. And there's nothing wrong with it. Except when you're doing Rent-A-Center because you work for TNA, but that's still not enough money to cover the previously mentioned lawsuit. So it's one thing if you're doing it because, you know, you don't want to. Edge obviously doesn't want to hurt himself anymore, but I guess still wants to make a little bit of money, and now he can make money without worrying about injuring himself. The before mentioned Hulk Hogan has acknowledged the TNA name change on his Twitter account. TNA star Hulk Hogan, I'll address that title in a minute, seem to indicate that the TNA name change has been dropped in favor of Impact Wrestling. Quote, no TNA, Hogan wrote. Basically, he said they dropped the name. Well, they dropped TNA to call it Impact Wrestling. No, and says no TNA. And then another quote that says only Impact. To read more confusing Twitter feeds from this man, visit his site. And this is even fun. This is another funnier point of it. Twitter.com/Hulk Hogan for real. First, I only had one kind of joke and point to make, and surprise, I got two out of the deal. Didn't he pass the stage of star after retirement, retirement, come back into a new company where he now is part of the executive team that creates the poor wrestling entertainment that invoked all these changes that we're now begging for? And I said, oh, and the only Impact thing. Hulk Hogan adds to whatever they're pushing, but sometimes, like the before mentioned Ric Flair, when that's all you're doing, it's not Impact, it's not entertainment, it's not wrestling. It just becomes what it would become anywhere else. Someone addressing a live crowd. And like it was mentioned right before WrestleMania on a PW Torch episode with Pat McNeil, where there was an era back in the day, like your before mentioned Attitude Era, and before that, and actually way before that, and it kind of came to an end as Attitude Era phased out, where there was the star power, and there was the star power to cut a 20-minute promo and the fans stay interested. Now they do the 20, 30-minute promo, and it's a mixed bag because it's not what it used to be. And I mention in every video different things, like my other suggestion as opposed to the buyout. The whole year's been a bunch of, that's why I always refer to the full circle idea. All of my points essentially lead to what would work, or what I think would work. And most of it isn't even what I think would work. It's not really opinion. It's more business sense. Just to touch on it, or maybe, maybe this will be the rant. You more or less take I'll address the conference call while I do it, because next up is your Extreme Rules match results. When you're Vince McMahon, for example, follow along with me here, I'll get to a point. When you're Vince McMahon and you buy the company or inherit the company from your father, who believed in wrestling and African American and had a mix of everything, like Bruce Mitchell said, there was your black African American wrestler for your African American fans. There was your Russian wrestler. There was there was a different wrestler to cater to whatever fan base was sitting in the audience. And now it's more just wanting to be everything. The WWE at the conference, actually, the spokeswoman said, her name was Michelle, I forget her last name, and just for the record, I had a full list of notes for the shareholders conference, but something happened where everything else but those notes have been saved, and I'm doing it all from memory. But I'll get into that. Basically, she said that they're keeping their eye on the ball, like kind of like Triple H said, while concurring with Triple H. We're keeping our eye on the ball and not forgetting where we came from and how we grew up, but to dream bigger or expand. I disagree with it because, well, there's not many ways you can argue it. Well, you could, but it wouldn't make much sense. Why not make your wrestling better, and then you wouldn't need your other areas of business? Like I said in the last quarter, the 2010 conference call report, if they focused on their wrestling, there was a time where the wrestling product itself, the live events, come see your favorite wrestler here or at this event, etc., where that was enough and that made major money. And you had your licensing and your advertising and your television distribution and etc. But now it just seems like they want to be wrestling, but in case wrestling doesn't work out, they also have this they can do. And selling Mattel t-shirts with the WWE logo on the back doesn't work out. They can do Triple H goes to the gym pay-per-views because they're the best in the world at everything. They're just the best in the world. I disagree with it, and I just think make your product worth it, because as the co-host for the PW Torch said, the wrestling audience will stick with it. Your true like I've always said about the point of this show, for the true wrestling fan, your true wrestling fan wants dialogue, but he or she doesn't want dialogue for the sake of dialogue. They want talking and promo cutting that actually factors into the match or issue at hand. They don't, now it's gotten to a point where the matches are good, but it's nothing like what the fans used to get. So after 10 minutes of talking, they get bored. And like Pat McNeil said, the star power that was there in the 90s to the end of the Attitude Era isn't there. So there's that. Vince addressed that he does, another question, like we mentioned, we teased it, they asked him how the Rock deal worked out, etc. They asked, a question was asked if Vince takes into account when his pay-per-views fall on the same weekend as a UFC event, and it's a segue into what might be another rating / buy rate issue for TNA very soon, in the very near future. Basically, to sum it up again, well, I didn't really need to sum it up because there was something official said, but what it is WWE is already asking you bi-weekly, and I've complained about that, so I won't echo that, but spend $49.95 plus taxes and fees, and then you're asking that same genre of entertainment audience to spend additional money for the following night for UFC 1, well, just to reference the upcoming one, where Brock Lesnar will make his world title comeback, hopefully, at UFC 131, but where TNA faces the problem, and where this question relates to wrestling and not just another company, not just the WWE. Want to say June 12th. I could be wrong about the date, but I'm right about the event. TNA has Slammiversary coming up, and that airs I believe the same day or the next day the UFC event will air. So you're asking fans in TNA's case the same question. Please spend $40 plus taxes from us, your cable provider, fees that we pay translated down to you, that the cable provider pays translated down to you. So about 50 or $60. Please buy Slam our yearly summer event. And oh yeah, Brock Lesnar comes back. Spend another $50 to watch that too. So you have your scenario where you're spending $100 or more just for a weekend of entertainment. Yeah, hell, we all make fun of it, how expensive the movies got, but you can still go to the movie for $20 after your food and your concessions that you might need to take out a loan or refinance the house. But he went on to say that the use of blood in wrestling is literally archaic. He said more or less it's not entertaining, and more or less that when it was done in the past, there was a reason for it, that it's done now just to shock value. And he said, as Triple H and him have both been competitors in the WWE and or listed as wrestlers, active roster wrestlers, nobody really wants, unless it's really factors into the drama and suspense behind the match and the story being told like it used to do, thus why it was being used. Nobody wants to see kind of how we argue Ric Flair. Nobody wants to see blood all over the place and with, the various diseases and everything like that, the hepatitis. Undertaker turned down a match years ago because he found out the opponent had a mild case, like barely there, of hepatitis, and said, no, I don't, where I guess blading at some point during the match was to occur, and Undertaker turned the match down because he didn't even want to run the risk. And who can blame him? But I also have to say, on this one instant, I concur, because unless it's entertaining, I mean, you could do the same thing in UFC. But unless it's entertaining, it's going to get to a point where it's what we're saying now. Enough with the blood for the sake of blood. It didn't mean anything anyway. You just beat somebody up. There's more on that conference at pwtorch.com. Again, the first quarter of 2011 will be reported, I believe, this Friday. Look in the last 2 months, and I believe we've advertised it, or it should be in the show description. But if you want it faster, just go into pwtorch.com or prowrestling.net's even faster. It's the titles. You click the story that appeals to you. You get the whole story at a glance, real quick, real easy. pwtorch.com or prowrestling.net. The latest installment, by the way, just we'll be doing more plugs at the end, but getting most kind of spacing them out. The latest edition of last night's Smart Wrestling Fan Wrestling Review Show, 3-hour wrestling review show, is now available on iTunes and SWF.com if you wanted to check that out. They cover it. They cover the week in pro wrestling. Every Tuesday for 3 hours with rotating co-hosts. And, most of the time, like last night, you got a half hour, 45 minutes that probably I haven't listened to the whole show yet. I kind of got distracted. at about the halfway point, but I will say that there was some bonus material, like I said last week. They kind of ran clean. They ran on time, so it was kind of a contradiction right after I said check out the live show, but it's something you might want to check out. It's, like I said, it's reviewing of wrestling, the Week in Pro Wrestling, every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, smartwrestlingfan.com, and for a limited time at smartwrestlingfan.com, along with the forums and other stuff you can do, like you can do on most of the people we advertise and plug for. They don't know how long storage-wise those 200 episodes are going to be up there. So if you are an SWF fan, check it out before they start removing it. Basically, the way Negron said it, they set it so it didn't, so it wasn't on during the work day. And basically, Joe Negron said, try listening to it in the morning. If the one episode you're trying for doesn't work in the morning, try it again mid-afternoon, try it again at night. It's basically set up to air at certain time. So check them out. And again, 3 hours wrestling review and analysis. And now it is time. I apologize for all of this, guys. It's been a very busy day between the state and just life. The last couple days have been very busy, and I'm sorry for what seemed like the tease. But we did have technical issues, and like I said earlier, maybe it was a good thing because I'm able to bring you a pay-per-view. And when I originally did the May 1st run sheet, I had 2 news stories and no ratings. So maybe every now and again it can be said that waiting a little bit makes for a longer show. That way I can give you everything in one show. And since it's not frequent, it's bonus material. And like we said, moving into, get ready. Live from Tampa, Florida, WWE Extreme Rules. 8 p.m. Eastern this past Sunday, $49.95 plus taxes and fees for those at home, as we've just discussed. Randy Orton versus CM Punk is up next. Is your first match, and the stipulation is Nexus is banned from ringside. I'm just giving you your results here real quick. Orton reached his feet at 9. Basically, there was a double fall. Orton got to his feet at 9, and Punk remained down for the count. Orton's the winner after 20 minutes and 6 seconds of wrestling. U.S. Championship match, Sheamus versus Kofi Kingston. U.S. Champion Sheamus versus Kofi Kingston for the U.S. title, and it's a tables match. Sheamus takes the suplex and attempts to recover on the table, but it puts him in the wrong spot at the wrong time as Kingston splashed Sheamus through the table for the win. Winner Kingston at 9:09. 9 minutes and 9 seconds of wrestling to capture the U.S. title. Next up is your Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole and Jack Swagger. And this one was real brief, but here we go. And the stipulation was a country whipping match. Ross low blowed Swagger, who tried to enter the ring to attack Ross from behind. Cole grappled a distracted Ross and small packaged him for a pin and the win. The crowd groaned as Cole quickly left the ring to celebrate with Swagger. Ross hung his head dejectedly. Matthews dealing with a case of announcer amnesia, said Cole is undefeated in action, forgetting Cole lost to Ross just 6. Sorry, nothing's working right tonight. God damn it. Forgetting Cole lost to Ross just 6 days ago on Raw. Winner Cole and Swagger after 7 minutes and 4 seconds of wrestling. Next up, Cody Rhodes versus Rey Mysterio, Falls Count Anywhere match. 619 by Rey Mysterio into a springboard splash. Winner is Rey Mysterio after 11 minutes and 43 seconds of wrestling. And as we mentioned in the wrestling news, your next match is Layla versus Michelle McCool, with the stipulation of loser leaves the WWE match. McCool goes for her Styles Clash. McCool slowly makes the cover, but Layla countered it into a crucifix pin for a quick win. Layla sold jubilation with the win, then despair over McCool's loss. Winner Layla after 5 minutes and 24 seconds. McCool leaves WWE. The PW Torch said decent match for a send-off for somebody, but doesn't it echo that in a pay-per-view, a pay-per-view that's 3 hours long, a Divas division that used to be strong, and now your Divas get 5-minute matches where 2 minutes of it's probably intro? Or maybe I'm wrong. Well, no, I can't say that. They clocked it as the actual wrestling, or they would have specified. I'm just saying, another show to discuss a lot of different things when we start going with the topic-driven stuff and the new launch and everything that we're working on now. It kind of... give me 1 second. Hey, Joe.
Joe went to Walmart.
Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Go to the back doors for me. Joe knows what's going on. And bring it, or no. Yeah, actually do this. Tell her I'm in the middle of recording. Say all I'm doing. Hand her that Newport pack. It's got a dime in it. Yes. No, the Newport pack. Yes. Yeah. It's got a dime in it. She's going to hang you $10. Tell her I'm just in the middle of recording something.
Where's the back door?
Can't talk. The other side of the stairs right here. Sorry. My fault. Come out. Make the left, and instead of going out that door, go out to the right. Sorry. Yeah, it does. They don't have your cool. Sorry, I thought Joe was still here. Thanks, Joe. Again, you ask somebody to answer the door so you don't have to interrupt the show. And it's still getting interrupted. I apologize, guys. Between messages and phone calls, it's insane. But just coming full circle on the Divas thing, and it'll be another one of our topics. As you know, we'll be looking for topics, but a 5-minute match when it's going to be. Now, Wade Keller said it was a good send-off, and maybe he was just referring to the send-off, but I don't know. Don't you want your Divas to shine or potentially shine? If not, what was the point of drafting them anywhere? Come on in, buddy. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
She said she got a job at Home Depot, and she said they're looking for cashiers. You should go down there and.
Oh, I applied with them already.
And she said they're paying her more there than what they paid her at Giant when she left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Shit. I applied before she did. They haven't called me.
It's fucking difficult to get a job, man. I checked 55 places before I ended up.
Well, I did everything online because
yeah.
I have to get a ride everywhere, and now it's online half the time anyway.
I know, you show up and
go
on the website.
But it's real quick, though, because once you do the resume, most of the time all you have to do is click apply, and you can do 40 applications in 5 minutes.
Oh, I know.
But the thing that sucks is, what I was telling my dad about it is, yeah, I need to find another job, and I'm trying, but I can't make them call me back. You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't know you were by yourself, dude. I'll be out in a minute.
No, dude, it's all good, man.
I'm sorry.
Good.
Well,
it's all good.
I'm a poor host. I didn't know he left you by yourself.
You're doing a podcast or whatever you're doing. It's all good.
Yeah, but why didn't you go to Walmart with him? Like,
because there's only 4 seats in the car, and I'm not going to fucking pile up in the back seat. So.
4 seats?
Like.
There's shit on the other side? Or wait.
No, just.
There would have been enough room, right? Like, he had friends with him?
Yeah.
Oh.
4 people in 4 seats, and I wasn't going to be sitting in the middle riding bitch seat all the way there.
Wait a minute. Judessa didn't bring him?
What?
Because when he came back from he got a ride to welfare this morning.
Yeah.
And when he came back, it was just him and Judessa.
Yeah, it's him and Judessa now, and then Matt and his girl came to pick him up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fucking people are multiplying. Yeah, I'll be right out, man. Sorry.
It's all good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate your help.
Yeah, no problem.
Next up is Alberto Del Rio versus Christian in a ladder match for the now vacant, thanks to Edge's retirement, World Heavyweight title. Big push for Christian, as we kind of assumed or hoped for. Christian becomes your new World Heavyweight Champion after 21 minutes and 5 seconds of wrestling to climb the ladder, bringing down with him the World Heavyweight title. And he did good when he went to TNA. Like, he deserved a shot, and it's good to see him get it. So I hope it just isn't like a couple of month thing, and they actually do useful things with him, because this is the kind of replacement, the kind of age range, and the younger guys that haven't been pushed yet. When we talk about the staleness and how new stars need to be created, this is a way you do that. This is the process of creating new stars, like your R-Truth heel turn, Christian winning the title, Kane and Big Show, a team being tag team champions, a powerhouse team. Just ways to sell your wrestlers and give them careers and or justification for the checks that they get, even though in regards to Kane and Undertaker, or Kane and Big Show, they're both content at whatever position because they've had a guaranteed job for a decade, if not better, both of them. That's not combined, but they've both been there 10 years or more. Next up, WWE Tag Champions, as just mentioned, Tag Champions Big Show and Kane versus IC Champion Wade Barrett and Ezekiel Jackson in a tag team title match, lumberjack match. Show and Kane execute double choke slams on Slater and Gabriel to conclude the match. winners are Big Show and Kane retaining their titles after 4 minutes and 15 seconds of wrestling. Next up, WWE Champion The Miz versus John Cena versus John Morrison. Three-way dance for the WWE title, and it's in a steel cage. Cena makes the cover inside the cage, and oh yeah, not mentioned by WWE, but it has to be assumed pinfalls are legal in the cage match when it's usually escape the cage, but usually whatever the stipulations are, you're supposed to advertise. I don't know, maybe, I'm the one that's nuts. Like, maybe it's me. You don't know how to react if you don't. I'm not saying give it all away, but you don't know. You can't react to what you don't know, and especially when it's a stipulation. Like, just an example, when you say submissions match or an Iron Man match, or Iron Man's the better example. When you say the Iron Man match and announce it, it says pinfall or submissions are counted. It's usually used as part of the match hype to say pinfall, submission, or escape from the cage. But moving on. Cena goes for the pin, and it was good for a pin and the win. Cena is the new WWE Champion after 19 minutes and 50 seconds to capture the title. After WrestleMania, where he waited until the day before to, being sarcastic, the day before to say how much he loved and wanted the title. Now he's all about it. Getting into our plugs again. Remember, you can visit this video, and again, I apologize for all the interruptions, but it's life. Nothing stops. I hope you enjoyed it thus far. We're getting into our show segment very shortly, but let's thank who we need to thank. First and foremost, we encourage you, if you like this video or want to hear my views on other things, and basically everything that's been a conflict or a discussion point in wrestling, I've discussed it to some point. If not, I'm working on it. You can go all the way back to when we were doing the YouTube format, and we had to do like 2 or 3 parters to get our points across at YouTube, our official channel, youtube.com/CWE Company, where you can see over 100 archive videos, which will be, like, as advertised at the beginning of the show, our 1-year anniversary, I believe in June. Like I said, the official date will be announced. Remember to subscribe to us. That helps us with our stats with YouTube, helps us with our growth in general. Visit for more WTS information and shows and news and interaction with wrestling fans, and not mark wrestling fans, or hopefully not all marks, but the true wrestling fan, as I described it earlier. Visit WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. There you can interact with the online forum, submit a question, a logo for the logo contest, comment, and also on the YouTube channel, under every video, you can post a comment there too if you don't want to do it. Remember to friend us on both Facebook and Twitter at CWE Company. Click on the support the show link while you're at the site, and submit as little or as much as you can via PayPal, securely and safely. If you can't donate anything due to the economic hardships we're all experiencing, we completely understand. And as we've just proven and mentioned, more or less, the next best thing is referrals. If you like what you hear, if your friends are wrestling fans, and I'm quoted as having a different style and personality, and it's just different. I mean, I listen to multiple podcasts to get different views. But if you like what you hear, the next best thing to financial help is referring a friend, liking us on Facebook, friending us on Facebook and Twitter, commenting on the videos, becoming a subscriber to the YouTube channel, anything that promotes the show and grows the fan base, then you taking another selling point of the show, you've taken initiative in your wrestling by saying to the world, I like this, and maybe posting a comment on why. Just an example. For more wrestling news, as mentioned during the show, visit the PW Torch, their daily podcast, Monday, the hour before Raw. I mean, the hour before Tough Enough, so 7 to 8 p.m. And then Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 to 6:30 Eastern. Smart Wrestling Fan, as mentioned earlier, every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 3-hour show, rotating co-host. Again, get your logo contest in, get your entries in. The stipulations, again, are only two and very simple. You can use my name if you'd like to. We are going to bring back hosts. I'm working, like I said, talking to a couple different wrestlers to get days planned out where I can either pre-record stuff or it's basically what I'm dealing with now is not that it's not getting done. Is what I'm doing now is, since you said you wanted the co-host back, it has to be determined whether I'm going to need to pre-record because of conflicting time schedules and different stuff like that, as the age of the internet makes it all possible. But again, just to reiterate, the winner of the contest and the actual prize will be announced on the first off. Submissions formally will not be accepted. You can submit them, but I will take submissions up to May 14th at midnight. Anything time-stamped and dated later than that will be deleted. I'm just basically being straight shooter here on this one. I'm going to look at, I won't even probably have to open, well, with Gmail you don't. I'm going to look at the date and time, and as long as it matches with the few stipulations, I've counted it, it's literally 3 stipulations that I put on this contest, and I thank all those. Justin, thank you for your willingness to contribute to our show. We hope to bring Justin on with either a blog or some kind of video report on pay-per-views and whatnot. We're working out what he wants to do. You can be a part of this if you'd like to help us cover Raw, SmackDown, an independent show, a pay-per-view here and there. It's not really, and as you probably know, as many are, do it on YouTube just to do it. It doesn't pay, but our goal is to make a wrestling review production company and make it as interactive as possible so you, the wrestling fan, finally have a voice instead of just Taboo Tuesday once a year, where you have a voice, where your suggestions for shows get brought up, your comments get referenced, and you actually are a part of the show, as I do shout outs as Justin and the Dale know, 2 of my biggest fans. Thanks, guys. But all that and much more, you can visit those sites. And we, again, thank you to our audience. Without you, this would not be possible. Our show segment tonight is the conference itself. I kind of laughed when I heard about it because I didn't know, again, behind the times, if you will. I listened to every actual quarterly report, but I didn't know that it's done every year a week prior to the earnings. And I immediately came up with, I don't know if it was funny at the time or if I mentioned it, but to me it seems like saying, alright, let's meet up for a business casual / networking / social event, have a few cocktails, some laughs, some food. The chairman of the company will do a little Q&A, and we'll loosen you up before we bring you bad news next week. You'll like our personalities this week, but when we report our business, it softens the blow. If that wasn't the exact way I said it, but I'll use an analogy. It's kind of like being afraid to tell your girlfriend that her dog died, or that you accidentally, the dog got out and you ran it. It got hit by a car. You're scared to tell her, so you take her out, get her drunk, buy her dinner, get her drunk or inebriated, and then break the news. Now, one might argue that being drunk, she'd be more depressed and probably take it worse, but it softens the blow for what's been bad news in the last 2 years, especially with the dividend cut and the fallout from that, where WWE stock, uh, WWE stock this week fell to under $10. I've been noticing, but hadn't really been reporting on it. But up until it was announced Saturday, I believe it was, about that, I've been noticing every day that it would go down in value. And I was wondering when somebody was going to pick up on it, and I guess the alert came at the $10 mark, because it's usually, this is a guesstimation because I'm not like right on top of it, but I look at it regularly. It's usually between 15 or better, or around that 13, 15, 17, something like that. But the fall as low as it's fallen, and it basically, I think Vince, like I said, I did lose the notes, but that share price is being attributed to the restructuring. If I got it right, if I didn't, again, I post corrections. Uh, it's basically a side effect of having to balance out the dividend policy, where the last 2 years, World Wrestling Entertainment and their bad omen, I said wrestling, has been losing money over the last 2 years, but was still paying its shareholders the same in dividend payouts every quarter. And literally, which comes as a surprise, because people I know would take the money and run, but this is, again, smart business people, which baffles me when you look at some of the things they do and why they're not called to the carpet, and why Vince McMahon most of the time is given another shot. Like we've always said, like we've been saying over the last month, yeah, Vince is getting older. It'll be handed to Triple H. The fourth quarter of 2010, we said that, maybe with all the mistakes, and it just so happened Undertaker and Kane called their retirement, and it was a bad year, but they keep letting him do it. And my main argument for the new year was Vince signed a 3-year deal where they paid him more money and stock options. He's already a majority holder, but basically it was bound not to work out. And I'm just shocked that, because these are investment companies, big companies that just have money to throw around, and WWE has always usually been the place where you can put your money in there, and because of its success, people were making money, and now they're starting to see that they're losing money. But I always ask, any amount of money, why wouldn't you notice when you start losing it? What I'm getting at is, why do they keep not only giving him more money? If they were going to renew his contract, I would have said, instead of like getting bonuses for achieving gains, capital gains, they kind of deflect that by reporting increases in their other areas of business. So, like for example, as they admitted at the conference and they'll admit at the uh, earnings report, pay-per-view, the business itself is in a downturn, but then they'll kind of put a smiley face on it and say, well, pay-per-view, we lost money, and we lost money during the Christmas holiday at WWE shops, but our merchandise, our fucking uh, copyright and character ownership and distribution deals are paying up, and live events are paying up better, so it kind of breaks itself out. And I just argue that as a businessman, Vince was always a go-getter, and that's why he's been able to stick around. Obviously, it wasn't a rhetorical question or that I didn't know the answer to it, but he's stayed on because he's had a keen business sense. But there have been some things, and you know, all companies go through it depending on your area of business. But why aren't more questions being raised, and why is it almost that Vince McMahon can give you bad news, give you good news, give you bad news again, and then at the end say, but look forward to next year where things will be completely different? Kind of like the youth initiative we argued that was supposed to be showcased at WrestleMania, but they said that it was the original plan was you were going to see it implemented year round to create future stars for WrestleMania. I just don't under. It's another topic in itself, but they should be pushing whoever they can right now. The draft didn't really mean anything because there isn't any power there. It's a break even, but we'll see what happens there. Uh, it's a Wednesday, so I hope you all had a good day. We want to thank you for being patient with us as we recorded this material. As you notice, minus the interruptions, which I'll say were about 3 or 4 couple of minute interruptions, you got over an hour of material, a lot of wrestling news, and a point of view. Just to put the question out there for the night, do you think Vince McMahon should be replaced? Submit the answer on the forum, or better yet, if you want, say hi under this video at youtube.com/CWE Company, or send your answer with a brief explanation and I'll post it to the show and maybe, you know, make another project out of your responses at cwecompany@gmail.com. And again, wrestling fans, until next time, have a great evening and thank you for your support. We appreciate it very much. Have a great night.